Basic concepts in managerial economics. This video lesson will explain different concepts in managerial economics. Incremental concept, the concept of time perspective, the opportunity cost concept, the discounting concept, the EQ marginal concept, risk and uncertainty concept. We will see one by one. The incremental concept. Incremental cost denotes change in total cost, whereas incremental revenue means change in total revenue resulting from a decision of a firm. This incremental concept states a decision is clearly a profitable one if it increases revenue more than cost. It decreases some cost to a great extent than it increases others. It increases some revenues more than it decreases others. It reduces cost more than revenues. You can understand the incremental concept through an example. Some businessmen hold the view that to make an overall profit, they must make a profit on every job. The result is that they refuse orders that do not cover full cost plus a provision of profit. This will lead to rejection of an order which prevents short-run profit. A simple example will illustrate the incremental cost concept here. Suppose a new order is estimated to bring in an additional revenue of 10,000 rupees. The costs are estimated as labor charge 3,000 rupees, materials 4,000 rupees, overhead charges 3,600 rupees, selling and administrative expenses 1,400 rupees. Therefore, the full cost is 12,000. Therefore, this order appears to be unprofitable when we compare the revenue 10,000 but the full cost is 12,000. Therefore, this order seems to be unprofitable, for it results in a loss of rupees 2,000. However, suppose there is idle capacity which can be utilized to execute this order. If order adds only 1,000 to overhead charges and 2,000 by way of labor cost, because some of the idle workers already on the payroll will be deployed, without added pay and no extra selling and administrative cost, then the actual incremental cost is as follows. Labor charge is 2,000 rupees, material 4,000, overhead charges only 1,000 rupees. Now the total increment cost is 7,000. Therefore, this is a profit of rupees 3,000. The order can be accepted on the basis of incremental reasoning. Incremental reasoning does not mean that the firm should accept all orders at prices which cover merely their incremental cost. This concept is mainly used by the progressive concern. Even though it is a widely followed concept, it has certain limitations. The concept cannot be generalized because observed behavior of the firm is always variable. The concept can be applied only when there is excess capacity in the concern. The concept is applicable only during the short period. Then the second concept is concept of time perspective. The time perspective concept states that the decision maker must give due consideration both to the short run and long run effects of his decisions. He must give due emphasis to the various time periods. That the firm should have a long run perspective in their progress. This concept can be illustrated through an example. The firm which ignores the short run and long run considerations will meet with failure can be explained with the help of this example. Suppose a firm having a temporary idle capacity received an order for 10,000 units of its product. The customer is willing to pay only 4 rupees per unit or 40 rupees for whole lot but no more. The short run incremental cost, ignoring the fixed cost, is only rupees 3. Therefore, the contribution to overhead and profit is 1 rupee per unit or 10,000 for a lot. If the firm executes this order, it will have to face the following repercussions in the long run. It may not be able to take up business with higher contributions in the long run. The other customers may also demand a similar low price. The image of the firm may be spoiled in the business community. The long run effects of pricing below full cost may be more than offset and long run gain. Therefore, the example of a printing company which never quotes prices below full cost due to the following reasons. The management realized that the long run repercussions of pricing below full cost would more than offset any short run gain. Reduction in rates for some customers will bring undesirable effect on customer goodwill. Therefore, the managerial economics should take into account both the short run and long run effects as revenue and cost by giving appropriate weight to most relevant time periods. Third concept, the opportunity cost concept. Opportunity cost of a decision is the sacrifice of alternative required by that decision. Sacrifice of alternatives is involved when carrying out a decision requires using a resource that is limited in supply with the firm. Opportunity cost therefore represents the benefits or revenue foregone by pursuing one course of action rather than another. The calculation of opportunity cost involves the measurement of sacrifices. Sacrifices may be monetary or real. The opportunity cost is termed as the cost of sacrificed alternative. EQ marginal concept. This principle states that an input should be allocated so that value added by the last unit is the same in all cases. This generalization is popularly called the EQ marginal. For example, firm has 100 units of labor at its disposal and the firm is involved in 5 alternatives as A, B, C, D and E. The firm can increase any one of these alternatives by employing more labor but only at the cost, sacrifices of others. For example, marginal product of labor in activity A is 50 rupees while that in activity B is 70 rupees. Then it is possible and profitable to shift labor from activity A to activity B because B has more profitable. The optimum is reached when the values of the marginal product is equal to all activities. This can be expressed symbolically as mentioned here that all the marginal productivity equal. So where the marginal productivity of labor is equal in each sections. Here L is mentioned as labor. Discounting concept. Since future is unknown and incalculable, there is a lot of risk and uncertainty in future. Everyone knows that a rupee today is worth more than a rupee will be 2 years from now. The mathematical technique for adjusting for the time value of money and computing present value is called discounting. Suppose you are offered a choice of 1000 rupees today or rupees 1000 next year. Naturally, you will select 1000 rupees today. That is true because future is uncertain. Let us assume you can earn 10% interest during a year at present worth. Unless these returns are discounted and the present value of returns calculated, it is not possible to judge whether or not the cost of undertaking the investment today is worth. The formula of computing the present value is given below. V is equal to A by 1 plus interest. Here the V means present value, A amount invested rupees 100, I rate of interest 5%. Similarly, the present value of rupees 100 which will be discounted at the end of 2 years can be calculated through this formula and the decisions can be made whether the rupees is worth present or in future. Risk and uncertainty. Management must assume the risk of making decisions for their institution in uncertain and unknown economic conditions in the future. Firms may be uncertain about production, market price, strategic of rivals, etc. Under uncertainty, the consequences of an actions are not known immediately for certain. So, for example, now we are in an uncertain situation that due to this coronavirus pandemic, organizations face these uncertain situations and they are wonder of how they can manage their businesses in this uncertain situation. Uncertainty arises because producers simply cannot foresee the dynamic changes in the economy and hence cost and revenue data of their firms with reasonable accuracy. The probabilistic treatment of uncertainty requires formulation of defined subjective expectations about cost, revenue, and the environment. The probabilities of future events are influenced by the time horizon, the risk attitude, and the rate of change of the environment. So, in this video lesson, you have learned 6 different concepts in managerial economics as the incremental concept of time perspective, opportunity cost concept, discounting concept, EQ marginal concept, and risk and uncertainty. Thank you.